Hello, welcome to episode 20 of the Epic Film Challenge 2, 1001 movies you must see before you die. This time I'm looking at an Iranian film from 1996 entitled Gabbeh, directed by Mohsen Makhmalbaf. And I feel like this film is very important to this series, to this challenge, because it's the first one where I've really gone way outside of my comfort zone and watched a film that I would have never ordinarily watched and wouldn't even have known about if it weren't for this book. And it's a film that's unlike anything I've seen before, and I feel like that is going to be the phrase, the catchphrase of this series, because there's been so many so far that I've watched and gone, I've never seen a film like that, and this is one of them. Gabbeh is the name of the main character of the film, but also a gabbeh is a style of Persian rug. These big rugs that have kind of images on them that tell a story sometimes, and that's the case in this film. The film opens with an elderly couple going to a river, a small stream, to wash their gabbeh, their rug, and on the rug is depicted a young woman and a man on horseback, and she asks, the old woman says, "Who are you?" And the rug answers in the form of a literal woman appearing lying on the rug, and she gets up and she says, "I'm Gabbeh," and she tells the elderly couple her story of how she lived with this kind of nomadic family, I guess you could say, traveling around with all these sheep and shearing the wool and making the gabbehs, making the rugs, getting coloured flowers, like flowers with like real vibrant vivid colours, and put them in water and then dyeing the water and then putting the wool into the water to make the different colours. You see them making it and all that kind of stuff, and Gabbeh was a part of that kind of group, and she kind of yearns to love, but she cannot love, she cannot marry until her uncle is married, and he's like 57 and he still hasn't found a wife. So he's looking for a wife, and Gabbeh's getting impatient because she wants to pursue love, and there's a mysterious man on horseback who is kind of following her around the whole film, and he's always in the distance calling out to her in this kind of primal wolf cry. And she tells the story to this elderly couple. It sounds like a fairly simple setup, but I tell you what, the first 10 minutes of this film I had no idea what was going on. I was clueless, because it's told in such a fluid way, but not in a way that kind of makes immediate sense. It'll just cut to whatever she's talking about, and then maybe, you know, it'll cut back to her, and other stuff will be happening, and then you're like, wait, so is this a dream? Are the elderly couple imagining this woman? You know, like it was really kind of frustrating to figure out what was going on. I have to say that it wasn't very cohesive, but I feel like it's not because it was messy, but because it just felt like, it felt very free-flowing, almost stream of consciousness. There's a scene that just gets dropped right in there where this guy is kind of in front of a chalkboard and he's teaching kids about colour, and he'll go like this, and then you'll see a shot of his hand going out to like a yellow field of corn or whatever and straw, and he'll go like that. And when his arm comes back into the shot, he's holding a bunch of them, and he'll put his hand up to the sky, and he'll pull down the blue, and his hand will be dyed blue. Like really weird stuff that, you know, I feel like there's a lot you could look into with this film and kind of get messages from, symbolism and all this kind of subtext. But just watching it as I did and trying to kind of keep up with it, one thing's for sure is the film is beautiful. It looks stunning. I mean, it's all shot on location outdoors, these great landscapes, beautiful colours. You know, colour is kind of part of the film. I think in one of the posters it says colour is life, life is colour, something like that, and that's alluded to in the film. They say something along those lines, and it's to do with the rug and the colours in the rug and the telling of the story. And this, to me, felt like an original way to tell a story, because it wasn't a simple someone tells someone a story and you see the flashback. I don't know, like there's just parts were dropped in there, and I was like, what's going on here? And you have to kind of keep up with it, but it doesn't follow the usual structure of a film. It doesn't go by this, right, scene by scene, and we have the first act, the second act, the third act, and let's plot this, you know. It felt like more of an expression of something. It felt like a visual poem, or it felt like music, where, you know, music can, you know, it can sound good, and it makes you feel things. And it can do that without really having lyrics that make much sense sometimes, or no lyrics whatsoever. And I almost felt like that is what this film was like. It was almost like music that kind of makes you feel things and kind of think about different things as you're watching it, even if you're not completely in sync with the story. I have to say though, like by the time the film was coming to a close, it was making more sense, and there's a beat right at the end of the film where I was like, oh, I kind of get it. I think I kind of get it. Very short film, hour and 10 minutes long, and it's something I would never have watched before. Never in a million years. And I'm really happy that I watched it. You know, the performances are interesting. And that's a whole other thing, I think, with foreign films. I always wonder this. I wonder, because you're seeing someone act in a foreign language that you don't understand, they may seem like they're really passionate and acting great, but within the context of someone who knows that language, are they giving an over-the-top performance? You know what I mean? Like, you could have someone who's like, you know, I'm trying to think of like a wild example, but like, you know, just someone just shouting at someone and be like, ah, da, 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 you know, like whatever. And you can either do that and it's over the top and not convincing, or you can do that and it's really, you know, impactful and convincing. But when you don't understand the language, can you really tell which one it is? So I always think about that with foreign films. I think, wow, that's amazing performance. And I think, well, is it because I'm reading the words? I'm not understanding the language. You know, is it convincing? I don't know. Sometimes you can tell. I will say that sometimes you can tell if the acting is good or not, but sometimes you're not quite sure. Anyway, I just really enjoyed this film on a level I've never enjoyed a film before. I think almost it almost fell into that kind of Koyaanisqatsi kind of feeling. Almost. I'm just looking at the scenery and enjoying it, but the story was interesting too, and towards the end I really was feeling it. I think. Just again, gorgeous landscapes and stuff, but a story told differently, and I respected that. I really did. Even if I didn't keep up with it all the time, I respected it for being different, not being by the mold. I'm sure films like this have been done before, but for me personally, it was the first one I'd seen like this, where it was just done differently. And you have to kind of make up your own kind of way of experiencing it. I don't know, I'm talking complete and utter bollocks at this point. Is it a film you must see before you die? Gabbeh? Yeah, it is. I really think it is. It's something that you need to give a shot, because for me, again, it's something I would have never watched before. Now that I've watched it, I'm glad that I did. I'm not saying I'm going to be going out and watching more Iranian films, but it certainly opened my eyes and, you know, made me feel a little bit less like judging a film by a picture from it. To kind of paraphrase the, you know, to judge a book by its cover. You see an image of the film and you think, it doesn't look like my kind of thing. You know, it doesn't look like my kind of film. And I don't think it is my kind of film, but I really enjoyed it and thought that there's something there that's different, that's interesting, and that's, to me, unique. Again, I'm sure it's been done before, and that's a trap you can fall into with films, to say they're the first people to do that, because there's always someone who did it before. always except for the person who made the very first film and all that kind of stuff. But you can hardly ever find something that is the very first example of this, unless you really know your facts. And I don't know my facts. So to me, it was unique and original, and for that, it's worth the merit of judging it as such, and saying, you know, I've never seen a film like that before, and, you know, yeah. And I liked the ending. The ending really was like kind of so yeah, I highly recommend it. Check it out if you can find it. But sadly, I don't think anyone is going to kind of check the film out based on my recommendation, and I'd be willing to bet that probably this video will get no comments and very little views, because it is a film that no one has probably heard of, and so it's not interesting, and it's not a hot topic. So it is what it is, but for me, this is the start. This is the start of me really looking at films I would have never seen before and finding something in them. Finding something that I may never have found before without this book. So already I almost feel like this is worth it. Thanks for watching.